What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mansdem. I'm your host, Mark Herbert. It's the Herb on IG. I'm going to jump into it. It is December 3rd. And right off the top, we'll talk about the players of the week for last week. On the list, Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, holding it down. Another big week, another undefeated week for the Bucks. And the surprise of the season so far, obviously, is Carmelo Anthony getting the nod for Player of the Week for the Portland Trail Blazers. Melo put a stat line up of 22.3, 7.7, and 2.7, and was named Player of the Week. I believe this is simply a result of the fact that the Players of the Week are given out to the players with the best stats on the teams with the best record for the week. There were a lot of big weeks, big players that put up big numbers this week. Melo gets the nod. Not really feeling it, but if that's what the stipulations are, then so be it. Good for him. Another good notch in the belt for him in terms of his, the comeback tour, so to speak. Agree, the man should have been out of the league in the first place. So whatever was going on with the league prior to him being signed by Portland, it looks like he's putting it behind him. He had a really efficient game a few nights ago against the Bulls. He put up 25 points. But again, the team looks to be gelling pretty nicely with Melo in the mix, Dame Dollar back in there, and Hassan Whiteside just doing what he's supposed to do, being big. So what we'll do right now, it's not Wednesday, but what we'll do right now is I'll just touch base on games of the week. And of course, as I see it, one of them was supposed to be Raptors versus Jazz, but the Raps just gobbled them up. Another one was supposed to be Sixers versus Jazz, but the Sixers put a beating on them too. So the Jazz are in jeopardy of falling into the second or third rung of respectability with regards to threats in the West. Again, my first podcast, I predicted they'd finish second in the Western Conference. But of course, right now, a lot of my predictions are looking off. I thought that more teams would be invoking the load management. I'm grateful that they're not. Again, we'll see how things play out. So right now, the next game, and again, it's going to sound like I'm a homer here, but I mean, the Raptors are playing a lot of big squads this week. And they play the Heat tonight in Toronto for the first time. So we'll see what Jimmy Buckets can do. I like the Raptors in this game simply because I still think they're the deeper team. And I think the Raptors have more size than the Heat do. The Heat are playing that all-inclusive game right now, of course, where everybody touches the ball. They rely on a lot of people, different scorers every night. So I think if we get a potential matchup between Nunn and Terrence Davis Jr., that could be real interesting. There are two people who are now on the Rookie of the Year radar. They're showing that they can score consistently, having big games and filling up the stat sheet. So it'll be real interesting to see how that goes. Also tonight, the other big game, typically the Battle of Texas, whether it's Houston, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, or San Antonio and Dallas, or whatever. Typically those teams hook up, and it's a lot of fun. Just not sure what to make of the Spurs this year. They're struggling. DeRozan's in trade talks now, so we'll see how it goes. But it's Houston going to San Antonio. I expect this to be a close game, but we'll see what Harden has left in the bag after dropping 60 and three quarters his last game. So that's a game that has a lot of potential. I think the Lakers going to Denver is a good game. Again, Denver is a team that I picked to have the number one seed in the Western Conference, and they've been a bit of a disappointment this year. But their defense is actually pretty sound. They've got a solid squad, as you know from last year. I don't know, maybe it's complacency. They're just not quite living up to my expectation, at least. So we'll see what they do. They took a tough loss to the Bulls the other night. So we'll see. The Lakers are rolling. I mean, sure, they ran into to Luka and the boys there and lost to Dallas the other night. But there's obviously no shame in that, man. Dallas has proven to be a tough team, but I do think the Lakers going to Denver is an interesting game. It's one of those litmus test games, So Denver, again, not playing as well as they should. They have a chance to measure themselves against the West's current best team, or at least the West's current most consistent team. So that'll be a good one. Let's see if the altitude helps them out. The next game, Portland takes the reigning player of the week into the Clippers' house. Kawhi and PG have been playing well together. Lou Will is doing Lou Will things. Montrez is going nuts. Pat Beverly is a force. So it's a big, big test for Portland. And again, they're rolling as good as they have all year. I think Melo is fully entrenched in the system right now, so he knows the offense. He knows what's expected from him on defense. They've been playing well with him on the floor. So it'd be interesting to see what they can do with that third bona fide weapon against the Clippers. So it'd be nice to see what goes on there. That's a big game for them because this is definitely their biggest test since Melo's been integrated into their lineup. Another good game Wednesday night. Miami continues to go through the Atlantic Division. They are going to Boston, and again, Boston being one of the top squads, they have surprised me a bit themselves as far as how well they've been playing to this point. Thankfully, they didn't lose much time with Kemba after that concussion scare. But yeah, Miami, second day of a back-to-back, but they're built on fitness, so it's not going to bother them much. But second game of back-to-back, they go into Boston. And again, Boston's playing really well, so that should be an interesting game. The Lakers go from Denver to Utah. Again, Utah got slapped up on the East Coast, so they're looking to get things, right that ship back in Utah, which is typically a very tough building to play in. But obviously, LA matches up well with them. Rudy Gobert's size isn't that big of a deal when you've got JaVale McGee, you got AD, and you got Dwight Howard. So that poses a problem. That takes away a big part of Utah's advantages. So, and again, Mike Conley needs to show up more consistently. Going into Thursday, not much happening there, so I'm not going to get into that. It's a Friday. Another big test for Melo. He gets the other LA team, this time at home. LeBron gets to hook up with his boy. So again, another big test for Portland, taking on the Lakers. So it'll be interesting to see how they play following the game against the Clippers, because obviously both games are going to be highly scrutinized, and Portland needs to show up, or they're going to get run out the building. So that's an interesting game to play. Then we got the Clippers going to Milwaukee, and hopefully Kawhi Leonard isn't being load managed and he'll actually play, and the Clippers will have a full squad, and we can get this, finals preview that everybody thinks is going to happen, and the best players show up and give us paying fans what we want, like a full roster, so we can make these educated assessments on who's going to do what. But that's a really interesting game. I would love to see that. This is Kawhi's first time playing Milwaukee since the Raptors won 4 straight to run them from the playoffs. Yes, I know the series was 4-2, but they won 4 straight to limit it from the playoffs. Don't question me. All right. What else we got? Denver goes to Boston again after Denver's game against the Lakers. Depending on how they do there, this is another test, and we'll see if they step up. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched, size-wise and everything. I think it's an interesting game. So we'll see what Denver can do. What else we got? I know I missed one. I must have skipped it already. The Raptors. I know Raptors play Houston on Thursday, so that's a big game for the Raps. After not Thursday, Friday, I don't know, whatever they play Houston this week. Yeah, it's on Thursday. They play Houston on Thursday. So yeah, that's the only game of the week of the day on that, as far as I'm concerned. So Raptors in Houston following their game against Miami. It'll be interesting to see how the Raps try to contain the beard and the Brody. Typically, um, and historically, the Raptors have done bad against Russell Westbrook teams. His speed has always been too much for them. I mean, they won one last year in OKC, and then they lost I think an overtime game last year in Toronto to OKC. So um, it'll be an interesting game. The Rockets have obviously they got the beard, and he's playing on a different level right now. But I think the Raptors have a lot of people to throw at them right now. Thankfully, because the bench has really stepped up. So it's going to be a lot of Terrence Davis. It's going to be a lot of Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Hustle Jefferson as they call him here, and he's going to get a big mix. Both of them are Russell and Harden are going to get a big mix of players coming at them. So it'll be interesting. Raps are a top defense, so they'll see about shutting them down. So it'll be interesting. We got Friday already. Sorry for skipping. And Saturday, we got nothing special on that one. And there's some rumors in Raptorland with regards to a potential Andre Iguodala trade, which apparently would consist of Norman Powell and a draft pick, I think. Um, I'm not suggesting that Norman Powell is a better player than Andre Iguodala. Obviously, there's some difference in age here, and youth matters. I think the Raptors gave up a lot of youth assets last year to get Kawhi, to get Marc Gasol. So I am concerned about mortgaging the future a little bit for a guy that's only going to be here for the year. I mean, definitely. I don't. Andre Iguodala is not going to be a long-term guy. Um, and personally, I would like to see how Norm plays when Kyle returns, and then make that judgment. I mean, if he plays bad, then I guess his stock drops a little bit. But personally, I'm hoping he's turned the corner. I've had a lot of faith in this guy for a lot of years, and this is definitely the most consistent ball he's played since being a Raptor. So um, when there's a stat I saw the other day, when he scores 16 points or more, they're like 27-7. You know what I mean? Like, so there's something to him being effective in this lineup, in the Raptors lineup, and their success. Because of the way that the Raptors bench has stepped up of late over the last 7 games, I don't know that Andre Iguodala really serves a purpose right now. I mean, yes, he's a veteran presence, and yes, he's a solid defender. Um, I don't have confidence in his jump shot, and yes, I understand he does hit big shots in big games and all that, and that's nice. But personally, I would just like to run it as we have it right now, and like I said, see how things look when the team gets back to full strength. But if we've learned nothing else in this life as Raptors supporters, never question anything that Masai does. All right. The man is very methodical, and he obviously considers all angles. So him and Webster know what they're doing, obviously, and if that's a move they think they want to make, I have to respect it. But I am happy to see Norman Powell having some success, consistent success in a Raptors uniform, and I'd actually hate to see him go. But I mean, if that's the way that the Raptors management wants to go, you got to trust in them. So we'll see what happens with that. Other than that, again, just want to touch base real quick. Um, I am putting this out to my boy Andre um, down there in New York, and Jamar over there in Brampton. Two of the biggest members of the Carmelo Anthony fan club GTA section. You know, talk to me, man. Let me know how you feel about Melo. Again, I'm doing my best. I'm not trying to hit on the boy. He's been playing well, but let's not get too hyped, man. You know what I mean? Like, let's not get too hyped. Let's make sure he can do this sustained, and doesn't go back to old habits. It's trying to hold on to that ball too much. But Dre, whenever you come back up, I'll get Jamar together, and I'll let the fan club go to work, man. So get at me. This has been the Mansdem. It's the Herb. Like, subscribe, share. Peace out.